Please give a warm welcome to Stephanie Danso. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for such a lovely biography of me. I love it. Thank you. I just started my timer. On behalf of Church 365 and the Fence Cares, we just want to say thank you so much for being present this evening. This initiative was really important for us because I find that cultural sensitivity is not really advertised enough. And with that being said, we really want to thank Government of Canada for the funding that they provided for us to actually promote this initiative. So I really hope that with this presentation that I'm about to deliver, we won't be bored, but we will be edified and informed with some sort of awareness. All right? Thank you so much. So the objective this evening is to empower communities about fostering cultural sensitivity through education, which is what we're going to receive this evening, through raising awareness of diverse perspectives and encouraging meaningful action. I find that these days, sometimes when we're doing things, there's not much meaningful action. It's just, it is what it is. But with cultural sensitivity in such a diverse country, this initiative is really essential. So our topics this evening, this is a quick overview of what we'll be learning in this presentation. We're going to find out what cultural sensitivity is, why it's essential, and how cultural sensitivity enables us to build understanding, how it enables us to shift our attitudes, and lastly, how we can equip for real-world action. And I think this is important because me coming from an African background, for so many years, I was taught like a lot of stereotypes about other people's cultures. But through education and information, it's transformed my information. And I want the same thing for the rest of us this evening. So we're going to start with an icebreaker activity. I know that right now we're feeling okay. We had something to eat. The saxophone player was exquisite. And I just thought, just to break the ice, you can shout out the answers. What does cultural sensitivity mean to you in everyday life? Like right now, what does it mean to you in everyday life? You can shout out the answers, don't worry. Feel free. Awareness. Open-minded. Someone said respect. Acceptance. I'll take one more. Diligence. And how do you demonstrate cultural sensitivity when interacting with people from different backgrounds? Being mindful, yes. Being respectful. I'll take two more. Communication, one more. Being patient, and someone said something. Sensitivity, I'll stop right here. Thank you very much. I asked these questions because I wanted to get an idea of where we're at when it comes to cultural sensitivity and what we know now versus what we're about to discover now. So with this initiative, once again, it's to promote sustainable change in activities and behaviors. So the overview of the 365 multiculturalism and anti-racism campaign awareness is to enable us to promote cultural understanding and anti-racism practices. I know, once again, we live in a multicultural country, but I find that many of us still fail to promote cultural understanding. And it could be lack of knowledge, it could be misinformation, misunderstanding, miscommunication, it could be a lot of things. I find that in the educational system, it would be really nice if they can promote this as a course where people can actually get a credit and actually learn these things, because in our everyday life, we interact and meet different people. And I find that many people burn bridges because they don't know how to relate or to communicate with people who are from different cultures. And why it's important is because equity and inclusion must be ongoing, not just performative or seasonal. It's like when we get hired for a company, when they're trying to onboard us, the only time they talk about diversity is just that time. The moment 1 week passes by, that's it. Once again, it's not an ongoing thing, it's performative. It looks good in the books, it looks good for HR. Shout out to those who are HR managers. It looks good. It looks really good and essential, but we want to make this initiative an ongoing thing where we can practice this every day in our everyday life, in our communication, in our gestures, in our body language, and most importantly, having a mindset that's open for growth. So, cultural sensitivity. What is cultural sensitivity? Cultural sensitivity is designed to raise awareness and provide tools to navigate cultural differences. So, with that being said, how does one navigate cultural differences? By understanding. We work with people from different ethnic backgrounds and cultures, and what we fail to realize is understanding is essential. You may not follow the same practice they follow, but understand why they follow what they follow, because it's a part of their culture. Culture is their identity, right? So once again, how does one navigate cultural differences? Understanding, respecting. I find it interesting how people can make it seem like it's so easy and it's acceptable to disrespect people in their cultures. That's not nice. It's like me looking at someone's, caregiver or parent and disrespecting them and thinking it's okay. It's the same feeling. It's very inappropriate. So when it comes to navigating cultural differences, we need to exercise the importance of respect, whether we disagree or agree. Because by being respectful, we're being mindful. By being respectful, we understand that that's their culture and that's appropriate to them. Another way that one can actually navigate cultural differences is by valuing cultural differences. Understand that what you do in your culture is different from what I do in my culture. But that doesn't mean what I do is better than yours or what you do is better than mine. We're just acknowledging other people and what, brings forth their identity as an individual who understands the importance of cultural sensitivity. And because we don't exercise cultural sensitivity, we become culturally insensitive, right? I have the perfect example when it comes to cultural sensitivity and how miscommunication can occur where it actually disrespects one's culture based off of assumptions, based off of stereotypes and bias. So follow me as I read my example, just to share an example of miscommunication between two different cultures because there's lack of information of understanding one's culture. So I'm going to share an example of miscommunication that occurs due to cultural insensitivity. So the scenario is a simple greeting gone wrong. The context: a Canadian manager is meeting with a new employee from Japan for the first time. The manager greets the employee with a big smile and tries to give a firm handshake while maintaining strong eye contact. Cultural misunderstanding. In Canadian or Western culture, a firm handshake and direct eye contact are often seen as a sign of confidence. It's also seen as honesty, and it's also seen as engagement. But here's where it goes left. In Japanese culture, once again, if you don't know this culture, such a handshake might feel aggressive, and prolonged eye contact can be considered disrespectful or confrontational, especially towards a senior or someone you're not familiar with. Do you see the difference here? You see how in the Japanese culture, you see how what I just listed really shows there's a lot to learn about other people's culture. And it's really easy to make an assumption and a bias or stereotype statement about this person's culture. So the key lesson here is this: without awareness of cultural norms, innocent actions can lead to misjudgment and miscommunication. So you see why cultural sensitivity is very, very important? If I don't know this, I'm always going to make assumptions, wrong assumptions. And because of these assumptions, I have a fixed mindset, a mindset that doesn't enable me to have a mindset that's open for growth. And it's because I don't know anything about someone's culture. Moving on, how does one navigate cultural differences? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. How does one navigate cultural differences. Avoid assumptions or biases on ethnicity. This could be from one culture. Ethnicity could be tribe to tribe. Maybe tribe A has this stereotype about tribe B, but because of lack of information, what happens? There's always assumptions, wrong assumptions, and maybe that person could be a helper. But because of the wrong assumptions you have about that individual, what happens? Your pride may not let you go forth. Ask questions, seek help. And this is why many people are suffering. Assumptions, biases on ethnicity, or even customs. We have some people, in the Western world, we like to use the word superstition or incomplete information. We shouldn't do that. That's someone's culture. There's a reason why people follow specific customs, because that's what they believe in. But once again, if you understand and you can practice respect, you would value that and understand that that's someone's customs according to their culture. If you don't think it's right, that's fine, but we don't want to shove that in their face and be disrespectful, right? Has anyone actually experienced that before? Where people have actually neglected or made fun of their customs or cultural practices? How did that make you feel? Sorry? Uncomfortable. You guys, the rest of you guys felt good? Mad? Yeah. And that's normal. And that's because of lack of information, miscommunication. It's made people feel okay to be disrespectful to someone's culture. And that's not appropriate. Another thing that we can practice to navigate cultural differences is to learn about cultural norms. I'm not saying go to the library and get a book, but today we have TikTok, we have YouTube. It can cover 2 minutes. Watch a video. It can actually edify you about another person's culture. Or if you find yourself working in a work environment where it's really diverse, I think you should put yourself to a challenge and actually educate yourself on other people's cultures. So when you're approaching them, you know how to approach mindfully and not in a way where it comes across as disrespectful or ignorant. I mean, you'd be so surprised. The littlest thing you do can come across as disrespectful, and you may not even know it. So just through information, learning about one's culture, it can actually help you, approach people in a way where you're not being disrespectful. Another way to navigate cultural differences is unlearn stereotypes. Don't just take what people have told you, because keep in mind that that person's experience may not be your experience. Always remember that. We may look alike, speak the same language, from the same ethnic background, but don't assume because maybe your friend experienced that, you're going to experience that too. Maybe your approach will be different. So unlearn stereotypes. Very, very important. And by doing this, I believe it can really open doors for many people in so much things you can even imagine. So just keep that in mind as well. How does one also navigate cultural differences? Use inclusive communication skills. This was actually a big one for me. When we talk about inclusive communication skills, we mean using people first language. An example is, instead of saying, oh, she's a disabled person, you say she's a person with disability. Do you see how nice that sounds? Yeah. Very mindful. You're being respectful. Many people these days, I don't know, because maybe, mental health is on a rise, where people are just saying anything they want, not being mindful of others. They just say things to belittle people. And you don't want to do that. So once again, instead of using the word disabled person, say person with disability. Same thing with the pronouns. I know that many people don't like to use the she, he, him, her, they, them. But if someone's telling you that this is their pronoun, please respect that. Go by those pronouns. Don't feel like it's not necessary. Then by doing that, you're not actually promoting inclusive communication skills. Another example is adapting to communication styles and needs. You find people talking about, oh, we're really inclusive. No, they're not. You have nothing that's accommodating people with vision impairment. You have nothing accommodating people with hearing impairment. You're not inclusive. You have nothing accommodating people that might need extra time to comprehend. It's like when you go into an elementary school these days, they tell you certain kids may need an IEP, an individual educational plan. And that means the school's trying to accommodate the kids' academics to be successful. You notice that in most schools, there's no spec ed class, and a lot of kids are special ed. Special ed is based off of effort, not necessarily academics. But there's no room to accommodate those kids. But then you see schools getting checks of $10,000 every month towards spec ed. Where's the money going? It's not accommodating people to make them academically successful. That's the problem. So once again, to be inclusive means you're adapting to different types of communication styles and needs, ensuring that people are actually being accommodated to be successful. And by doing that, that means you're actually being culturally sensitive. So cultural sensitivity doesn't only mean, you're accommodating to someone's culture, but, making sure that communication styles are being met. People feel included. So even if you don't talk about inclusivity, they know it's present because guess what? It's a part of the equation. Next slide, please. So going forth with this workshop, as it's about building cultural sensitivity, real change happens when we make it intentional. We actually have to want to make it intentional. We're not just using our words, but we're actually demonstrating it. And it should also be ongoing and put into action. So the next slides will show simple ways to do this, especially in the areas of multiculturalism and anti-racism. So multiculturalism builds understanding through education and awareness. So what it does is it informs people about issues they may not have been exposed to, like systemic racism. Systemic racism is when individuals from a specific group is at a very high disadvantage. For example, BIPOC, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color. Sometimes when they're looking for employment, guess what happens? They're not even offered to do an assessment, to even get an interview. That's systemic racism. They may not even offer you an interview because they notice you have an ethnic name. They don't want it. They want the regular names, the westernized names, the Canadian names, right? Simple names because it looks good and it sounds sweet. But that's systemic racism. People experience that till today. We don't even talk about that enough. So with this initiative, it tries to let people have awareness to understand that even though we're not talking about it, you may have experienced it. What it does also is to inform people about issues they may not have been exposed to or cultural misrepresentation. I find that every February sometimes with Black History Month, it could be a bit touchy for me because you find specific people from different cultures trying to, educate people about maybe African culture, Caribbean culture, and there's always like some sort of misrepresentation there. And it can come across as offensive. So I always try to tell people, try to do more research, learn about what you're trying to present so it doesn't come across as ignorant or disrespectful. But once again, misrepresentation. People just, make fun of people's culture like it's a comical joke. That's not nice. But once again, misrepresentation is a real thing in this country where people don't have enough information through education and awareness to realize like, oh, I've been doing something wrong. Maybe going forward, I can change my approach. I can change my speech. I can change the way I present this culture. I notice my time's going. But going forth, an example would be how does education and awareness build understanding? Promoting change in attitudes and behavior. So just allowing yourself to do more research to understand certain things, just to give you some sort of awareness. So when you're representing someone's culture, you're promoting it well. Cultural sensitivity also shifts attitudes through empathy and exposure. So what it does is it creates safe spaces for storytelling, listening, and interactions across cultures. A lot of people these days, they don't give people enough chance to storytell or even listen to some of the stories they want to share about their culture. And once again, it could be ignorance, disrespect, misunderstanding, and not really making room for people to really share dialogue. An example would be cultural sensitivity training or education, such as this. Asking a person of color, where are you really from, can also be seen as microaggression. I'm going to go further on this a bit. So I was talking to Pastor Brenda about this. I always encounter this type of example. An example would be sometimes when I'm out in the community, people can come up to me and ask me, wow, I love your features. Where are you really from? Then I say, I'm from Canada. I was born here. No, where are you really, really from? Then I say, oh, I'm from Ghana, West Africa. Yeah, I knew it. That's microaggression. That's not even appropriate. But knowing me, being, cautious sometimes, I just say, it's okay. I just smile it off. But that's an example of microaggression. How many of you guys have actually experienced that? You see what I'm saying? So sometimes people don't realize, like, it's the littlest things they say and do that comes across as disrespectful. But maybe they don't even realize what they're doing neither. But us who has that education and awareness understands that's microaggression. Maybe I can take it lightly, but someone else could be offended. And if they're offended, I don't know what they're going to do. But us that's here, we know better, so we can do better. There are some people, they can meet them at their level and also be sarcastic too, but sometimes I don't have time for that because I don't even know what I'm dealing with. I don't know how the person's gonna attack me or trigger. So knowing me, I brush it off and I walk away. This is the last slide, which is equips for real world actions. So cultural sensitivity also equips us for real world actions through skill building. What it does is it teaches practical tools how to use inclusive language or implement fair hiring practices. Hire people, different race, different gender. Give people a chance, not only because of their looks, their skills, what they can bring to the table. What happened to all of that? We don't look at those things no more. It's really about the look. But if the look is empty, how does that bring any fruitfulness? Hiring managers that are here, keep that in mind, right? So an example would be enrolling in a course that teaches how to identify systemic racism in media and how to create counter narratives. So this is something for people who are in work environments. If you're a part of health and safety committee, bring that up. Bring that up. A lot of companies are always saying, yeah, we're really diverse, but when you walk in, you keep seeing one kind. That's not fair. They say we're inclusive, but then you only see one gender. That's not fair. Yes. Absolutely. There you go. She even said people with disabilities have that same type of unfairness. They don't give room for such people to actually execute their skills. So just a quick recap on cultural sensitivity, what it does. It raises awareness and provides tools to navigate cultural differences with respect and understanding. It builds understanding through education and awareness. And it shifts attitudes through empathy and exposure. And lastly, it equips for real-world action through skill building. So by learning new things, understanding each other, building skills, working together, and joining programs like 365, multiculturalism, and anti-racism, people can start to see things in a different way, in a different lens, in a different mindset that is open for growth and not fixed. Thank you. I know that I went over my time, but I will hold the questions here. If you have any questions after, please respectfully meet me at the back, and we can take it over there. Thank you so much.